I'm gonna establish a ground blind archery stand within the next couple days this weekend. Set it up, come back and shoot one. Every morning, I begin my day by invoking spiritual guides that I use for my own protection in daily life. And I also use them to grant wishes that my heart and soul desires. I've been working with a Sasquatch guide for about 3 years now. And this Sasquatch guide exists in the mind, and it exists in the spiritual dimension. It is non-corporeal. It is not a physical being. This particular being has worked with me over the ages, and I've met, in fact, his family through mind-to-mind and telepathic contact. This is the being that I ask wishes to be granted for. And this being has granted me several wishes. In fact, about 4 or 5 big wishes of mine have come true with this daily contact with this spiritual being. The beginning this fall of the year 2024, I had 2 wishes. My first wish was to successfully harvest a Pennsylvania mature whitetail buck during the archery season. And my second wish was to harvest a mature doe with my recurve bow. Both of these wishes I made every day, or probably since about August, all the way up through last Saturday. I make these wishes with my heart, soul, mind, body, and spirit. And I also combine several factors when I'm interacting with these entities. I combine the physical body, I combine the mind, and lastly I add the vocalization, usually just the English language, and I speak what I desire out loud, and I combine that with physical gestures as well as with visualizations where I use my mind to contact these entities, and I visualize what I would like to be successful in. So I visualize my success. I visualize myself holding a rack of a large mature whitetail buck, and I also visualize myself with a recurve bow with a mature doe harvest. And I visualize this through my senses by using my mind. I use my mind to simulate the feeling and the visualizations and the emotions of being in this situation. These techniques I have found to be 100% successful. They have worked flawlessly for myself, for me, and I welcome you to use your mind and your soul and your spiritual powers and integrate these into your daily life so that you may experience the success that you desire. Today is October the 8th. Tuesday is the first day that I can get out to hunt this year. I'm really looking forward to it. I couldn't ask for a better day. The highs are around 62 today, and lows are in the mid to upper 40s at night. Well, it's about closing time. It's 7 p.m. I'm gonna have to start bringing some warmer clothes because There's a frost warning for tomorrow morning, and it's getting cold. Not used to having the first week in October get that cold, so it's cold. No deer sighted. Oh well. Today I'm out hunting the second white oak area that I found. I'm actually hunting these in reverse order that I found them. I already hunted that third place I found up in the big woods. There's a logged over area and the deer are coming out and the whole entire hillside is covered with acorns, some white, lots of red everywhere. And I just need to do some very current scouting in that area and then hunt it. So I either take a mobile setup and walk in and find the freshest sign and set up there, or I would go on a Sunday where there's no hunting on Sunday in Pennsylvania. And literally I have to be there the next day because they seem to cycle through the trees quickly. They have their preferences. And it's one of those deals where if one deer goes this way, they all go that way. It's the closing of the first week, this Friday, of the Pennsylvania archery season. And I haven't seen a deer yet. Of the 4 hunts, twice there were deer within 100 yards because I heard them snort. So the one area I did see one from a distance. So I know where to set up for those deer. But the ones that snorted up in the big woods I didn't see, and I'm going to go out there and scout. And I'm going to be hunting only over active sign. One year I ran a trail camera over a scrape that I found, and it produced a lot of buck activity during the rut in November. And I hunted it once, and a little button buck walked by me at around 10 feet. And then I do remember there were some other deer that snuck in the thicker brush off to my right there. So I'm gonna take a quick look over there and see if I can't get a better ambush point. But this is my first rub, and that's what I'm looking for today. I'm looking for buck sign, rubs and scrapes, plus I'm looking for fresh droppings, fresh tracks. So what I'm doing today is I'm walking the edge between a clear cut, which is probably at least 8 to 10 years old, and the hardwoods. And the hardwoods have the acorns this year. Red oaks are everywhere, and white oaks are in here too. The deer are going to be here. They're going to want to be here throughout the fall. I just need to find out the little corridors that they're using to sneak in and out of this thicket that's behind me. And you can actually see behind me, you can actually see the woods are kind of open here. That's because it looks like there's a trail right there too. So I'm going to do some on the ground scouting here and devise a game plan. But I'm definitely going to walk the whole length of this clear cut for this section of it and just find where the most sign is. And that'll probably be the first place that I hunt this week when I come up here. This is big wood settings. And what I really like about these big wood settings is pretty much you have the place to yourself. Most bow hunters won't even try to hunt these big mountains because it's kind of intimidating, and you really have to be specific with your scouting and persistent with it because they can go anywhere they want. But I'm just going to try to figure out where they want to be now and literally hunt it within a day or two, because yeah, they'll definitely change their habits, but I know the general area. So I'm just going to be very meticulous with my scouting today, and hopefully I'll get a shot at a deer up here this week. I have found a whole slew of these fresh buck rubs along the side of this mountain here. And I'm actually very close to a main travel road. And that's one of the reasons why the deer are probably in here. They're definitely in here. It's a little difficult to tell where exactly they're bedding. Now, I suspect that they're actually bedding between me and the road, and the road is only about 40 yards away. And I suspect that I may have bumped some on the way in here and I just never saw them. I'm going to hunt it and try to learn that. I'm going to hunt in the very best place that I found. The rubs all kind of lead up into here, and there's just acorns everywhere, mostly red oaks. And I haven't found any white oak trees that are dropping this year. They're just not doing it in my area. But there's just so many red oaks and black oaks that's what they're feeding on. So that's what I'll be hunting. There's a buck, it would appear that he's coming through here feeding. And it could be the morning, it could be the evening. I'm not interested in messing around with trail cameras for this spot, because I'm just going to go ahead and hunt it and find out, because the way they're coming in here is what I really am interested in, and I'm just going to do it by observation, because I really do suspect that they're kind of bedded somewhere close to the road where nobody really goes. But it's also quite possible that this clear cut behind me, which is quite old, it's at least 10 years old. It's at least 10 years old. And they could also be bedding somewhere in there, and then they could be coming and using this as a feeding area. So I'll find out hopefully when I hunt it. Hopefully I see something. And if I need to move, I'll move. Again, I'm sticking with the mobile tree stand system this year because it's just such a pain to move those heavy ladder hang-on type stands and ladder stands that a lot of guys use. It's just not worth it. I'm hunting a 9-pointer that I got on my trail camera about 15 yards that way, both in the morning around 9:30 a.m. and I got him in the evening at around 5:15 p.m. He's a really nice mature buck, 3.5-year-old or better, and I don't think anybody else is hunting him, so I should have a good crack at him. There's also a nice mature big doe in here too. As she comes by, she's going down. Stay tuned. They're bedded up above me. Could be bedded anywhere, 100 yards away or 200 yards away, but it could be 50 yards away. It's really thick up here, and they're coming down into a creek bottom here, and I'm very close to a road. That's why nobody else is hunting here. So here's what we got, the thick stuff above me here. I got nice shooting lanes, really nice natural shooting lanes everywhere. You can shoot easily 25 yards in all directions. My camera's right there. Let's see. That's my camera, trail camera. Right there. Let's see where there's a nice little creek down here. Well, during the 1 hour and 10 minutes I had to hunt, no deer showed. This is October 15th of the year 2024. I decided to hunt one of my top spots, and I was gonna hunt an opening day, but I had to work. And I just decided I'm gonna come in this afternoon and hunt it because we've had 3 days of cold weather. And it's a really good spot. I found it in January by following the tracks. It's a really good spot for deer in general. And it's a funnel, and then the bedding area is just over the hill here, which I'll show you. When I was walking in, I saw all these red or orange like ribbons, marker ribbons. I figured somebody probably was trailing a wounded deer, and I saw them. There's one right here. I'll show you. I was halfway up my tree. I'm about 13 feet up here about. That's about the maximum I hunt. And I looked, and 20 yards away there's a hang-on tree stand, which I'll show you too. I just decided I'm just gonna go hunt it. I was the only one in the parking lot, and I'm sure that guy is just not out today. That's public land hunting. The good thing is I have a lot of workarounds, and I can figure out how the deer are gonna negotiate his stand. I'll never be back here again this year. In fact, I probably won't hunt it anymore. And knowing that there's another hunter here who, quote unquote, claimed it. So here's the bedding area. Well, here's the marker ribbons. You can see right down there. And then just down the slope is super thick bedding area. It's hard to walk through. And now it should be bedded there now. My wind is blowing in that direction, however, since I'm 13 feet up, there's a very good chance they won't smell me if they come through. And this is what it looks like. And boom, 20 yards away, right there, is another tree stand. Right. About there. You can see it right in the middle. I'm heading back up to where I started hunting the opening day, or my first day out, about 9 days ago. We're at the end of the second week, and I still haven't seen a deer yet, but I still do have confidence. I'm hunting the edge of a clear cut today. I'll be at the very top edge. In other words, right at the edge of the clear cut. I found a fresh scrape on Sunday when I scouted, and the heaviest trails are coming out right where that fresh scrape is. So I really hope I can key on some does here. And there's a young 6-point that's running around here too that I've seen on my trail camera. But I'm going to be hunting in the very best spot that I know of in this area. If it doesn't pay off, I'll probably scratch this area off for the season because I have loads and loads of spots that I need to hunt. So tonight or never. I hunted the rub line that I found on Sunday, and my OCB buckle came undone, and it took me about 1 hour to figure out how to put that back together. Then I had my side pack on. I was attaching that to the tree, and I bent over, and my action camera, like GoPro type camera, fell off, hit the ground, and then 2 doe that were coming in spooked, and the older adult doe spooked and finally fled, and then her fawn walked around here in bad. A few days ago, I came up here to the big woods to hunt these does. And there's bucks in here too. There was a big 10-point couple years ago. So I know the area produces big bucks. And I've got this whole place to myself. What more could a guy ask for in archery season? So I originally hunted the first day only 40 yards down there. And there's a lot of scratching on the ground. You can see my September video. That was the first day out. And it's turkeys. Turkeys are covering this whole hillside. However, there is an actual deer scrape within 20 yards of where I was hunting. I'm not going to hunt this anymore because I've already hunted it once and there was no daylight activity. Where I'm standing right now, I hunted here, I think it was Thursday, and I thought for sure that they'd sneak out of this thicket behind me and walk right by me, especially because there's oaks that are projecting into the thicket. So I figured they're not going to pass that up. And then there's a bunch of, at least one big white oak, which again, I haven't found one that's actually dropping this year, but I just figured they'd come through here. But no, both hunts, my very first day hunt and this one hunt last Thursday, the second week, I heard the deer snorting and it seemed like about 100 yards away, and it probably is. So from where I first hunted, it was approximately a football field away. From where I'm standing now, it's about 50 yards away into the thick brush, basically close to where they're bedding. These are public land deer, the ones that survive the gun season. They're not going to be coming waltzing out of here during daylight. They're too good for that. They're survivors. They're public land deer. If I were hunting private land, I would probably killed a deer or two already, setting up where I did set up, because they'll come waltzing out into the open woods without a care in the world if it's private land and you have exclusive access. These are public land survivors, so I'm gonna scout and look see if I can find the main trails that these does were using and snorting at me. They must have snorted like 20 or 30 times both nights. So they know where I am, and they're picking me up by scent too. That's another thing. So I'm gonna have to be downwind, like past where they're coming through, because they're catching some kind of a scent tunnel here that they know about and I didn't. That's why they're deer. That's why they survive. That's how they perpetuate the species year to year, because there are some that are smart enough to avoid all the hunters. So this is the game. It's game on now. The third time I come back in here, I'm going to kill a mature doe. Or if a mature buck comes along, but I have a feeling they're does. And they're going to be caught by surprise. That's their mistake, because these does, when they start snorting and carrying on, all they do is give their location away. Bucks do snort, but they usually, quite often, they just slip away quietly. They don't want to draw attention to themselves. But in the case of these does, they do snort because they want to alert all the deer in the area. They're very social animals, and they have family groups, and they want them to know that there's danger nearby. Follow me. They put their tails up and they snort as they bound out of there, and the deer follow them. Let's go see what we can find in this thicket. I don't even know if I can set up from a tree stand. It's very possible that I won't be able to. So I'll make a ground blind and I'll ambush them from either with a recurve bow or possibly crossbow, because crossbow, I mean, there's very little movement involved with that. They're really effective on the ground. In fact, that's what I would recommend, is hunting with crossbows on the ground. And if you want to climb, then go to a vertical bow, because if you're sitting in a vertical tree and these short little stands with a crossbow, I mean, you don't have much range to shoot. Maybe 180 degrees if you're lucky. It's just not much, because you're hitting the limbs against the tree behind you. And you have a little bit more shooting options with a vertical bow, whether that be compound, recurve, or longbow. So I've been hunting exclusively with my recurves, and I'm doing something that Alan Altizer recommend. He says just take one judo point with one of your arrows and just take a practice shot when you're done hunting every evening, and I have. I've been real happy and confident with hitting exactly what I want to hit at closing time with my recurve bows, meaning when it comes to shooting a deer, it should be very natural and easy to do. Another thing that Alan Altizer talked about in the Stick Boys podcast during their woodsmanship series was, he said, where these deer are picking you up, or they're picking me up now by scent, that's where you want to be. He said they're going to come through there every evening. smelling the feeding area that they wanted to come into this oak side of the hill here where there are just massive amounts of oaks, acorns everywhere on the ground this year, just everywhere. So they know what they're doing, and they know the lay of the land, they know the wind thermals, and they know that when they come in here, they're going to pick up scent. And if there's a hunter, they're not coming in daylight, that's for sure. But Alan said, you want to hunt right where they're snorting. So I'm walking 50 yards into the woods here. I'm going to take my time, scout it out, find the best spot. I'll show you with the camera here. I'm walking about 40 yards from where I was just standing for that last commentary. And this is the second balloon here that I found. Now, the deer that come in through here are using thermos and wind tunnels to pick up my scent where I was hunting before. And so I've heard that when you find these mylar balloons, they're found in these wind tunnels. And these are good spots. These are where the deer want to be. I got in here and set up by 8:30 a.m. and there was a nice little doe fawn that came in and bedded down 10 yards from my stand here, and she bedded there for an hour and a half from 8:30 a.m. until 10, and she finally got up and moved. But I practiced drawing on her 4 or 5 times because I really need to get used to drawing on game and still staying relaxed and focused on the shot and my shot process. So that was fun. I think that'll be very beneficial throughout the season that I do that. I have a drill camera placed pretty close to where I am in this bedding area, and I'm gonna check it, see if there's anything worth coming back for, and if so, what time of day. The winds are picking up here in the middle of the day, so I'm gonna take my set down, check that camera, and get ready for my annual weekly hunting trip with my father, who's 82 years old, and we always have fun there, hunting private land for 1 week.
How was your hunt?
I am in Bradford County, and I'm hunting with my 82-year-old father. I'm 52 myself, and we've been coming up to this private land, 200-acre farm for 10, 12 years or so. And this year has been the best as far as being on to the deer, I think, despite the difficult conditions that we face with temperatures in the 70s in the afternoon. So my hunt began Monday morning, and I had a spike come through a weed field where I have a tree stand 10 feet off the ground because it's the only tree that you can put a stand in. And of course, he's a deer that you pass up in Pennsylvania. Then the next day, I hunted in the wheat field in the middle of it, where I had taken a 7.2 years ago, and 6 point walked by me at about 25 yards, and all I could really see was the top of his neck and his head and his rack. It looked like a 1.5-year-old, and there was no shot, and it didn't look like a deer that I wanted to shoot with my crossbow. And then the next morning I hunted. The same spike buck came by me again at 20 yards, and he bedded down for about 30 minutes because he feels comfortable there, and then he moved on. When I watched him walk away, and I saw there were other deer that he joined. So this morning I set up right the last place where I saw those deer, and they simply were not there at all. I didn't see any deer, but I did hear some deer baying in the morning. It sounded like some does moving in super thick brush. So I decided, well, I'm going to move my ladder stand one more time because I've moved it a couple times. And I was going to go set up where I just heard them, but when I went over there and looked at the sign, I knew there was what I thought were some crab apple trees from years ago that they usually drop their apples, and they're usually done by the first week in October. But I looked there, and they're not crab apples, they're regular red apples, and they're actually pretty big, and they're still on the tree. There's at least a half dozen on one of the trees. So of course I looked at the ground, and there's a cattle pasture of deer right underneath that tree. So there's actually another apple tree or two, and I picked one of them as a hide where I reset my ladder stand because I'm going to have a 10-yard shot as those deer come in to get those remaining apples. And I did see at least one that was within deer reach if they stand up and get those apples. So I'm going to go ahead there. I'm going to hunt that this evening, even though it's going to be 75 degrees plus, because it's in really thick cover, and I think there's a good chance there'll be some daylight movement, even though it's hot. So after I set my ladder stand and I walked back to my truck, I ended up walking right under the tree stand that I put there for my very first hunt. And just as I was walking underneath my tree stand, 10 feet in front of me, out jumped a really nice 6-point buck with a pretty heavy rack. And he was even more surprised than I was to see him. Evidently, he had bedded within 10 feet of my tree stand, where I'd hunted the last Monday and Wednesday morning, and I'm going to hunt there Friday morning.
It's a windy day here in Bradford County, Pennsylvania, and I'm hunting private land this week. And this is a nice area. There's an apple orchard about 100 yards below me, and I'm 50 yards from the edge of a field. And there are buck rubs here. And I also found tracks in the leaves. You can find these little holes in the leaves. And if you look closely at enough of them, you'll see footprints there. So I've hunted here in the past, and they've always filtered down through here, and I always get one chance at them. That's all they give you. Once you have that chance, you better get your deer, because they're going to change their habits like that. Today is the first day of my 3-week rutcation here in Pennsylvania, and it's about 11 a.m. when I found my land bridge, and there's a very active scrape right where it was last year. I predict there's about a 9% chance I'll see a deer today, about a 30% chance that I'll get a shot, and either an adult buck or an adult doe. And the wind is perfect for me. It's blowing in my face. The scrape's about 10 yards from me, and I expect a shot with it at 5 yards or less. This is the kind of spot you need for recurve bows. It's going to be point blank. It'll be fun. I'm spending the whole entire day here, and my confidence is high. I'm kind of watching it is a bench, and there's a very faint old road here, and there's even a drainage I noticed. So at one point this was probably a homestead, and it's easy to walk where the land bridge is through this thick stuff. So I imagine that's what any deer will do. And if there aren't any bucks here today, does are living here all year round. And I'm sitting right over this water source. So they come down here to get water, and I've had trail cams about 50 yards away over the last couple years. And sometimes this spot is absolutely loaded with bucks. In the summertime it is anyway. We'll see how it is this fall. So here's my land bridge. Right here. Right there in front of me. And there's like a small drainage here. And then it starts right there where that tree is. That's on the lower side of it. And the drainage is right up in the center of the screen. So this is the land bridge right in front here. This is it here. So I'm looking for a 5-yard shot here. If I'm really patient, I should be able to get my shot today. I hunted it all day, and there's one fresh scrape right on it, but no deer. Today is November 2nd, and we're well into the Pennsylvania whitetail rut here in the year 2024. I have the whole rest of the archery season off, specifically to hunt whitetails with archery gear. You're going to see me hunting with classic recurve bows, modern ILF recurve bows, and recurve crossbows. I love them all, and I give them all ample time in the tree stand or on the ground. I'm putting in my daily scouting. I've decided every single day around the middle of the day, I'm just going to go ahead and scout, just pick an area and scout it. Where I've already scouted in the past, I'm just looking for a fresh sign, and you'll see today that I did find some. So what we have here is just a logging road, and on either side are lots of oaks, and there's thick cover too up ahead here. And so what the deer do, this is northwest, the wind's right in my face, so they obviously they want to bed on this leeward side, which the leeward side is over here. And based on my spring scouting, there are some very significant heavy beds there that are, they're worn 2 inches down into the ground from bucks always bedding there, and does, I hope. We'll see. I am so confident with this find here in the middle of the day that I believe that when I hunt it, I will have a 90% chance of seeing deer. I'd give myself about a 40% chance of getting a shot at a deer, and I'd say about a 20% chance of hitting the deer. So that's probably about my odds, and that's about as good as it gets. I'm going to be coming back here relatively soon, one of these mornings coming up, because the time to hunt the hot sign is when it's hot. So I'll show you 3 scrapes and a rub here, and you'll see why I'm going to hunt this for sure. So these are just, this is an old scrape right there, but there's a bunch of them on this logging road right here. This is the first one. Check this out. that is so fresh. There's no leaves in it, and it's had ample time for leaves to fall in there. That's a fresh one, and that's leading into the bedding area. So that's number one. Oh boy, this is what, there's our second scrape. Look at this. This area is hot. I think I might just come in here Monday morning, because I know it's best to hunt these areas when they're hot. This area is hot. I'm standing over the third scrape I found along this logging road, and it's extremely fresh. It's got no leaves in it at all, and I suspect it was worked this morning. My plan of attack is to hunt a bedding area that's about 75 yards away in that direction, which is where the wind is blowing. And there's some permanent beds there. I found where the beds are so deep they go into the ground about 2 inches. I'm really looking forward to this. Hunting over fresh sign is real critical. And I think that doing this daily in-season scouting this year will be my key for opportunity to harvest white-tailed deer with my bow and arrow. My strategy is to come here early in the morning. I'm going to set up on the heaviest trail. It comes along the military crest on the downwind leeward side of this little ridge here. And the deer are coming in probably with the early morning thermals, with the wind blowing down the mountain and trying to smell everything. So they will enter that bedding area knowing it's clear. And once they bed down, the northwest winds blow directly to them. So they can detect any human being walking down this trail like I'm standing here right now. And I'm sure they're in there right now. They're very aware of me. And I'm banking on the fact that I think they will think I'm just a hiker out here, just having a good day, walking on the human-made path, this logging road. And I hope that they don't interpret me as a hunter. I don't think they're that smart, but they're certainly aware of their surroundings, and they have fantastic senses. My plan is to come back in the morning, get set up before daylight, and sit on the pre-prepared ground blind that I put together, I believe that was 2 years ago. And I already have it picked out. I already have a marker, I believe, that will help me find it. If not, I can find it without the marker. And I'd say there's about a 9% chance of seeing deer, about a 40% chance of getting off a shot, and about a 20% chance of getting a hit, and hopefully a 20% chance of getting a solid kill. I'll probably be using my crossbow because I want to get a deer on the ground, and then I'll worry about my traditional hunting after that. Especially when I'm on the ground, I do prefer the crossbow. It's so much easier to get a shot off than using traditional gear. It's my favorite time of the year to be out in the woods. It's just gorgeous. And the deer activity does start to pick up now in the first week of November and into the second week and into the third week. I've got 3 weeks of quality whitetail hunting in Pennsylvania, and I have all the time off from my work. I can hunt every day, and I can scout every day in the middle of the day and keep myself over fresh sign. That's going to be my key to success this year. Well, it's November 5th, and I came in here Tuesday morning after scouting this place Saturday. It was torn up with scrapes on the logging road that I used to approach this area. And I had a ground blind, which I think I found here. I'm pretty sure it's the right spot. Anyway, when I came in here around 6:30 a.m., I kicked a whole herd of deer out of here. I was pretty down on that fact. And I was thinking about coming back here and putting up a tree stand to get the wind right. Well, the thermals were naturally flowing down the valley where the deer were, so they may have winded me too, not just heard me. But I was thinking about, I'm going to come in here sometime today and put up a tree stand with the wind in my advantage. And then real quickly, right around 7 a.m., the thermals changed, and so the thermals changed and immediately started coming up into my face, just immediately as the sun rose. Here, let me see. I'll show you the sun. As soon as that sun cleared that line of trees, the thermals immediately began flowing in my face. All right. So what I did was I sat here and immediately, well, I was hoping that deer would come back, because a lot of times, even though you spook them, it's usually one of the best things that can happen, because they do come back. Usually 20 minutes later, 40 minutes later, the does will sneak back. Well, I heard a deer, and he was only about 15 yards in front of me right here. He was actually just on the other side of the blind right there. And I saw he had really long tines. So I immediately decided that he's the one for me. He had at least 6 points, and they're heavy, long tines. So I'm thinking he might be a 3.5-year-old. We'll see here in a minute. So that high-racked buck came right here, walked right in front of my ground blind here. I was going to try to take him there, but because he was moving too fast, I think I shot him through this final hole there, and it looked like I hit him about mid-body, just slightly high. But I think I got some good stuff, because once he cleared this tree and just went right over right there, I heard him go down that quickly. So I definitely hit some vital stuff. If I had to guess, I'd say I might have hit the aorta underneath the backbone, because it was a high shot. And that'll put him down really quick when you hit those main arteries. But so what happened was, when I came in here in the morning, the thermals were blowing down the mountain here right in front of me. And I kicked out a whole lot of deer, and I felt kind of bad about it. I thought I should have been here a lot earlier. So I sat down in the ground blind that I made a couple years ago. It's still here, good to go, right here, as you can see. And gave it 30 minutes, and hoping that, one deer would come back and make a mistake. Well, the buck, he was standing right there. He was coming in the 15 yards is when I saw him. He had really high tines, nice high rack. And he looked like, I'm going to guess he might be a 3.5-year-old. He's a pretty good sized deer. So I decided I'm going to take him. And he came through here. Here's my main shooting lane right there. He was moving. Of course, I'm looking through that magnified crossbow scope, and I couldn't really get on him until he was right in there, and I shot. And I saw the lighted bolt hit him a little high in the middle of the body, so I'm thinking possibly liver, or what I actually think, based on what I saw, it looked like I might have hit right underneath the backbone, and that's where the aorta is, and that'll put him down really quickly. I've done that before. In fact, that's what happened to my 7-point 2 years ago. I hit both the spine and the aorta, and they go down quick. But we'll see it here, and I'm going to give him a full 30 minutes. I'm starting to get excited now that I know that I got a hit on a good buck. And it might be my best buck. We'll see. All right. So there's 3 things to learn here. If you want to be the most effective hunter you can possibly be, number 1, in-season scouting is the most important, because you need to set up where they're active now. And boy, do they change their habits throughout the fall based on acorns and based on hunting pressure. They really change their patterns within a week or 2. So that I dedicated one Sunday every week to go scouting, and it kept me on the deer, whereas if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have been even on the deer. Because I used to go a full 3 weeks and never see a deer. That's without scouting. That's number 1 thing. Number 2, look how effective this ground blind is here. I mean, it's just naturally. Most of this stuff is natural here. And I'm just sitting here behind these couple trees. There's my crossbow I used. It's a 150-pound crossbow. Real simple recurve limbs. Really effective on whitetail deer. So hunting from a ground blind like this, see, I'm sitting here behind the shadows. I'm in the shadows now. He had no idea I was here. The wind was in my favor. Thermals shifted up, blowing up the mountain. As soon as that sun rose, the thermal shifted in my face. I've waited 30 minutes. Let's go get on this buck. All right. All right, we got blood right here. I got his tracks and I got blood right here. Let's follow this blood trail. Keeping an eye ahead of where we are. Pretty good blood trail. Yep, there's more blood. You can see where he's been stumbling here. See the blood there. Nice blood trail. Nice and steady. Hopefully he's down here. We'll see. See the blood there. It's nice and steady. Here's a nice steady blood trail. Didn't be too far. Went right over these briars here. There's my bowl right there. Always good to find that. Looks like it's been well used. Looks like it's also broken off. So this might be what I heard. And he might have rolled and broken it off. But that's good. Good sign. Looks like it mostly went through him. I'm just going to leave that there for now. Good blood. like major organ blood. Alright. Where's the blood trail go here? There it goes down here. He's bleeding really good. Look at all that blood there. That's hit from a mortal wound. He should be. Looks like he's actually stumbling around here. Don't see him immediately though. Okay. From here, looks like he went. A really good blood sign right there. Alright. So he, at this point where there's a good blood right there, he came down here. And it looks like he's heading downhill. I can follow him by his tracks too. Oh, look at that blood sign right there. That's good. Whoa, look at that. I don't think he'll be too far. Oh, there he is. I see him. Oh, it's a nice buck. Oh yeah, I'm happy. Here he is. Look at that. My buck. It is amazing how when they go down, they're hard to see. Once I saw this big blood loss here, I knew he was done. And there he is. That blood trail right there, buddy. Gotta get my crossbow. Oh, that's a nice buck. Gotta get my crossbow. That's done. I can smell him. He didn't go far at all. So what I heard was correct. Those nice heavy antlers. Nice deer. Really nice deer. Oh yeah. That's him. I'll take it. Nice rack. Yeah, heck yeah. Nice shot. Yeah, that's right where I thought I hit him. I think I hit upper lung. But he's done. Yeah. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4. Look, I guess it's a 5-pointer. But I like the rack. I like the deer. Nice, clean, quick kill. And I'm done buck hunting for this year. That's a nice deer. Probably get him European mounted. So that'll be nice. Today is November 5th. I scouted this spot on Saturday and found a whole bunch of scrapes on a logging road above me and a heavy rub. So I remembered I scouted here 2 years ago and found a nice ground blind up there to ambush them as they're coming into the bedding area. So what I did is I got in here kind of late, around 6:30 a.m. It was past shooting light. And when I walked into my ground blind location, I kicked out a whole bunch of deer and thought, well, that's not a bummer. And I was thinking about when I came back, I probably should set up a tree stand here. But 30 minutes later, right around 7 a.m., I heard this buck all by himself. And when I saw these high tines, I said, this is a buck that I want. And I saw 3 up on both sides, and that's what he has. He is
So he is a 6-pointer, exactly what I thought. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's one of my better 6-pointers, and it's certainly I would personally believe it's a 2.5-year-old is what it is. I mean, it doesn't have a big body, but it does have a kind of nice rack here. So the inside spread is at least 14 inches, and I'm tickled to death. I am happy with another 2.5-year-old buck, and this is the time of year to take my vacations for sure. So I'm going to field dress him, and I'm going to get him to processor and get something done with this rack, because I do like these 2.5-year-old racks. Now maybe some year I'll be able to hold out for a 3.5-year-old, but I sat in the woods all day yesterday from dark to dark, never saw a deer, in an area that I had not previously done some in-season or even preseason scouting. No deer sign, the dullest day of my life. So I'm very happy that the next morning I sat for 30 minutes and killed a 2.5-year-old buck. I really do like this rack. Hopefully he makes some good eating. I think he will. And I'll be on to my does from here on out. It's November 9th, and I'm hunting a rut funnel here. It's the next day out after successfully harvesting the 6-point on a Tuesday, election day, on public land, first thing in the morning. Around 10 a.m. there was a nice 8-pointer, I think about 2.5 years old, who came through this funnel, this drainage funnel, and he crossed the creek 20 yards in front of me. He went up the bank up there, and soon after he went up there, I heard a whole bunch of deer get up and run. And at first, I assumed that he pushed them, but it's actually, at the time, the wind switched, and I do believe the deer scented me. And that's the thing, is when you're hunting these drainages, there's a period of time when you may be in luck, but then that can change. There's almost a 50-50 chance that they are going to wind you no matter which direction they come from. So it's just a risk you take. If you're going to hunt the rut and they're coming through here, I'm personally going to go ahead and hunt it. I'm not going to bypass a good stand like this just because the wind does change directions often. Today is November 12th, and I am situated up here in a nice little funnel. It's an entrance into what I believe was a big buck's, and maybe still is, bedding area last year. I'm hunting does. However, a lot of the smart bucks will tend to push the does into their secluded bedding areas where they feel safe, where the bucks feel safe. And the does are going to be in there. The bucks have a way of pushing them into this really thick cover. So there is very thick cover right in front of me.
It's about 6 feet high, just tall enough to hold the cover for any large animal. I'm within very close range of the road. Today I will be tomorrow too. People overlook these spots. So here's the thick area right here. Deer can bed in that all day long. However, the pine thicket here, that's where the big buck sign was from last year. And I'm hoping that a buck will push doe through there some point today. And there's a scrape right out in front of me, right about in there, right at the edge of the woods. And it's very fresh, and there's a heavy trail coming into it. If they come along that trail, they should walk within 5 yards of me. Get a nice close range recurve shot. I'm really excited about this spot, especially because the wind is taking my scent over the top of this hill, basically in this direction, and it's taking my scent in a way that they're not going to smell me, I don't think, the way they're probably going to come through here. Well, we'll see. I'm only about 8 feet off the ground because this tree starts to slant forward, and I don't like to be leaning forward. Should be a really good spot. Just sit tight, hope I get the camera on and the recurve bow ready. There's a spike. Buck. I'm gonna practice drawing on him. It's about 11:15 a.m. on November 12th. This is the 2024 year, and this funnel right on the edge of a bedding area is super good for big bucks in general. I'm definitely going to set up here for the 3.5-year-old 8 that lives here. I don't think anybody got him last year. I don't think anybody is going to get him this year because of where he's living. I don't think people are going to hunt here. But it's not a good place for does. So I'm going to move where I got several pictures of does. It's actually not far from here. But I got those pictures on Saturday, and they're active there in the afternoon. Starting around 1 p.m. there was a big buck that checked the scrape, and then around 3 and 5 p.m. there's does that come in there. An adult doe with a couple fawns, and they're very regular. There's also a spike, which I saw him earlier, and they've gone by me, and they're actually moving towards that area where I should be in the afternoon. so I'll just move. I don't know of any does bedding anywhere around where I am now, and I'm hunting does, so looks like I'm probably gonna have to move. The only thing that I'm gonna certainly stay until noon, but there is a heck of a trail right in front of me here, where I haven't seen any deer move through there yet, but it sure looks good. I have moved to a location where I put a trail camera last January, and that was about 50 yards in that direction. And the deer literally bed down there. Oh, in the summertime they bed down there. It's been there since January. But when I came up to pull the camera, I noticed a scrape a couple weeks ago, and sure enough, there's a lot of deer checking that scrape. It's about 15 yards. I don't have to shoot farther than 15 yards with my recurve. They might come in from the side there. If they do, I can get them. Or if they come down off of this mountain ridge here, which this small rolling hill here, which I think is what they're gonna do. There's another old scrape underneath me here, and that indicates that I think they're coming just straight down, and they're just walking the easiest path. Like, it's like this softly rolling hill that's going up, and they're just following the spine down. Usually does do that, and I'm looking for does. I would love to get a shot within 15 yards of a doe with my recurve, take it cleanly, and enjoy the venison. So stand by. It's about 3 p.m., so I've got about 2 hours to hunt until 5. And I'm in this is a nice patch of pines here. I've got 10 to 15 yard shots right there that I can cover. And if they come directly toward me, got shots right there. And I've got shots through here. And I got good shooting lanes all around me. Got one to my left, off my left shoulder. Here's an old scrape right down here. In other words, it's dried out, but it was being used. See, there we go. But I'm just looking for some does. If they're on their regular habits, they should show up tonight. We'll see. Stay tuned. I have moved into one of my traditional rut hot areas, and it's simply a large overgrown weed field where the bucks cruise heavily during the rut for does. And I killed my first public land buck about 50 yards below me, down closer to the swamp, and it's a good spot. There's usually a doe bedded right down there, close to that swamp, and there probably is now too. But traditionally, I've seen deer basically come out of the corner of the woods does in the rut, like a lot of them, and they'll stream down through here. So I wanted to be up higher to get better daylight movement, and this is more of an observation sit. If I can get a definite pattern on deer, I brought my trusty binoculars. I'm just gonna move in tomorrow and set up on them, because hopefully we'll continue that pattern. But I scouted this whole strip at this level where I am. I'm about a third of the way up on this weed field, and they definitely like to bed in the upper third, no question about it. That's where they probably are right now. So in the evening I'll see how they move through here. The nice thing about this area is it's tough to hunt. There's a group of trees here, but trees are basically non-existent. Most of the hunting has to be done on the ground or from a step ladder, which I have been successful at using them on private land, but I need to start using them on public land here. So I'm going to put a game together here based on what I see tonight. But I did go check another funnel. It's at the same latitude, and it's a funnel. I did see some like clumped droppings everywhere that indicates bucks. I'm not hunting bucks, however. I'll probably hunt there within a day or two. Hopefully does get pushed through there, because it is a funnel and it's thicker back there. But I wanted to start out today here to get a good overview, because I can see 100 yards over this weed field in all directions. So in 180 degrees I can see 100 yards or more, and I can see where they're moving today. And there were two bucks about 50 yards down the meadow here close to the swamp, and they heard that banging, and I heard them get up and run away. Now I know they did not smell me because the wind is coming basically out of the southwest today. It's kind of going this direction, but they didn't like the sound of metal and they knew something was up. I'm not hunting bucks, but if there's two bucks there, there's a really good chance there's a hot doe in this area. I'm pretty sure there is. That's another thing I want to see tonight, where she is, and set up on her tomorrow. Today's Friday, the 16th of November, and I'm out here for the last hour and 40 minutes. Today I took the day off basically and rested and did yoga and looked at some trail cam pictures and video, and I'm out here. The conditions are perfect though. It stopped raining. It's very, very quiet. Good time for deer to move. So I'm hunting in what I consider to be the best location on this property. It's the best funnel, and during the rut that's the best time to hunt it, because when the deer are moving there's a high probability that they'll come within 15 yards of where I am, because there's a line of trees that starts about 40 yards from me, but it goes down to a swamp, and they just naturally tend to stick it to cover whenever they're moving. So they can come like a T-junction. They can come right up to me, or more than likely they'll come parallel. The bucks, which I'm not hunting bucks, but the bucks cruise through here any time of the day in the rut. And my hope is that they'll push a doe through here, because last time I hunted it, they sure as heck did. And if it wasn't for the fact that I was trying to film with two separate cameras on the ground, I would have gotten a nice big doe. So only using one camera for filming, and this is the one. We'll see what I can do here. Well, just that ends a very enlightening hunt here. This area is just tough to hunt, and I'm the only bow hunter who hunts it. What I learned tonight is that this overgrown weed field that everybody wants to stay out of. It's actually a feeding area for these deer. And they are bedded up above me in the woods. And there is a consistent pattern because I just saw them do it. What they do is there is a bedding area above me. I need to do some more scouting later on after the season to locate the exact beds, but they're filling in through these woods, and the thermals are going up into the woods, and they're coming in here with the wind to their nose, kind of a quartering, and they've really got it licked. So the only two options are, I used to hunt on the other side of this corner, and I would see a lot more deer than I'm seeing here. But that does have to be daylight for them to come out there. But most of the time I could hear them coming through the woods, but I just couldn't see them. So I'm going to hunt in the woods. I'm going to establish a ground blind or a tree stand within the next couple days, this weekend. Set it up, come back and shoot one. Good morning. It is November the 16th. Today is the 16th of November, and according to my watch. And it's a Saturday, and I just set up my stand for the rest of the day. And I'm literally only 20 yards from where I was yesterday afternoon. And I'm setting up based on where I visually saw the deer coming in last evening. Now, when I came in here, and I'm downwind now of them, if they come down like they did. The wind's perfect for me now, but when I came in here, a buck jumped up about here, right at the edge of that, about 30 yards above me, is where he jumped up and he ran out of here. And I think the reason why he's there is because he's looking for does that typically bed in this area. I think they bed on up the hill, up the side of the ridge there, typically. And I hope that's the case today. And if that is the case, I'm a good 100 yards away. So hopefully they didn't hear me set up. And there's a weed field above me, right around in there. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see it. That green, that's the upper edge of the weed field. And there has always been heavy sun right at the edge of that weed field in the woods. And I have found beds there. So that buck, he could have been bedded right in there. Probably was. And because I've found multiple beds, I believe it's a doe bedding area. So we'll see how it progresses today. That buck that I jumped when I came in here, I think what he was doing was he was simply bedded. And he was probably going to sit there all day until some does came where I am. Through this travel corridor, he's probably just going to wait for him and catch him in the evening. So I think I'm set up in the best spot. It's about 1:30. I'm gonna sit here the rest of the day. It is grueling, but I feel that there's a good chance I'll get a shot at a doe this evening. So taking off tomorrow, do some yoga, and do some reading and relaxing activities. But yeah, this deer hunting, especially traditional style with a recurve, is tough. It takes a really strong mindset to stick it out here, to get your quarry within 15 yards. And you have to be persistent and observant and diligent. think I've got those three qualities. So. Yes, I got her. I got her. Did you see that? She went down. I got her. Did you see that? She went down. Hell yeah. I nailed her. Oh, that makes me feel so good. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I got one. Oh, man. I'm so happy. I nailed her. That's amazing. I got good penetration there. Oh. I was wondering how the deer would come in here. I really was. Because I thought they'd just come off the top of the ridge, but I didn't know for sure. They come along the edge of the weed field, overgrown weed field, and these pines. I have absolutely no idea what they're feeding on. But where they were moving, there's not a lot of green, so it's a usual habit they do every night. And it was hard for me to figure these deer out, because I've been hunting here for 15 years. And they're slick. That was a really small fawn that was feeding there. I mean, a really small fawn. And I just was wondering how the heck I could hit that if that's the only deer I see. But I was patient. The adult doe came in closer. The fawn was actually closer to 20 yards away. And that doe mother came within 10 yards of me. Had no idea I was here because I was in a tree stand. And she was slightly quartering when I decided to shoot, because she was in the wide open lane and I just let her have it. And I got the gap right, I got my form right. And most of the arrow went through her, because when she ran away, she stumbled. So this is going to be a fun blood trail. Let's see what time it is. I'm pretty sure she didn't get too far. It's about 5. I found my arrow right away, close to where I shot her. So let's see what we got here, folks. Should be covered with blood. Okay, interesting. Alright, this is not as good as I thought. Jeez. Find out how much is in her. I'll get one of my other arrows. As you can see, we only have about maybe, if we're lucky, 7 inches of penetration there. The good news is we do have blood here. You can see right there. It's dark red. That doesn't tell us much. All it tells me is that it's muscle blood. It's not like a double lunged, but that's a start. So I got it marked, and we'll just see where it goes here. This is cool. I love following blood trails. So just kind of follow this along here. There's more blood there. There's more there. I don't want to push her, that's for sure, but well, we'll see what happens here. She went over the log. There's blood there. Underneath it there. There's blood here. Alright, more blood. Drops. It's good we're getting we're getting this blood trail here. It's something. Alright, there's blood there. Yep. Right there. Alrighty. A little bit there. Alright, there's some up here. There's not a lot, but there's enough. If I got really lucky and got her like in the heart and lungs, we'll find her tonight. Otherwise, might be a long blood trail tomorrow morning. So she crossed this log here. I'm gonna follow this along here. There's some more blood right there. There's some more blood here. Probably gonna cut the camera and give an update when I find one. Wow, this is absolutely amazing. This is unbelievable. I only got 7 inches of penetration, but I knew I put it right behind the front shoulder, and I have been following a steady blood trail for about, I'd say, a good 50 yards. And I actually kind of ran out of blood here, but look at this right up here. Alright, let me get this thing on here. Look at that white belly right there. Let me focus in here a little bit. Alright, I'll walk right up to it. She is done. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh, am I happy. I didn't think I was going to find this deer with the extremely low amount of penetration I got. I can't believe it, but I got her. She is done. That is so cool. I can't. Amazing. Oh, it's a decent doe too. It's a really good doe. It's a kind of doe I'm trying to get. Oh yeah. Oh, that's awesome. What a doe. Look at that. 7 inches of penetration from what I can tell. Oh, that's a nice doe. She's bleeding out the mouth. See that? Nice deer. Nice deer. She's so I hit it really well. I hit it on the other side. You can see there's some blood down there. That is a mature doe. And I am so happy that I got her with the delicate work of the recurve, precise shot placement.
and I will roll her over, and we'll see where I actually hit her. But I think I hit longer than maybe even a heart to put her down that quickly. That is so cool. Oh man. Awesome stuff, folks. Got it done with the recurve. That's only a 36-pound recurve, but I shoot it because it's very accurate. This is the third deer I've taken with this bow, so it does the job. Let's turn her over and see what she looks like on the other side. So I turned her over here, and you can see the wound there. Damn. She was quartering toward me, and from the looks of it, I put it, wow, in front of the front shoulder and hit vitals. That's where she was laying right there. What a deer. This is awesome. I'll get her field dressed and we'll get her out of here. That's how it's done, folks. I'm more proud of this deer than I am the 3.5-year-old mature public land buck I got, because I got it done with this recurve. Man, that makes me feel good. It's November 16th, Saturday. This is the end of the 6th week of archery in Pennsylvania. And I accomplished my #1 goal this year, which was to take a mature doe with my recurve bow. I missed one in the last week of October, another big doe, and I really felt pretty low about that. But I've been at it, hunting hard. I've had 3 weeks of wonderful bow hunting opportunities in Pennsylvania here, and I accomplished my goal. And what that involved was taking a mature doe, and the way I did it was I found a tight funnel. I've hunted this public land for 15 years, but where I set up, I was set up where the deer were coming in downwind 10 yards from me and picking up my scent. And this doe probably winded me last evening. So all I did was move 20 yards up the ridge here. That's it. And I set up. I got in here at 9 a.m. I set up a stand by 10 a.m. From 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. I sat here until this mother doe, this mature doe, came by. And she did exactly what they did the day before. She, exact same pattern. You could see where they're coming through because the browse was gone. All the green leaves were gone. So I could kind of guess where they were coming through. And they were feeding. She had a fawn with her, but that fawn was so small, I don't think I could have hit it even if I would have tried. Thank God she came in. She looked a little bit cautious because I think she winded me yesterday. But I was up in a tree stand about 12 feet with my Lone Wolf .75 and my Eastern Woods Outdoors ultralight white steps, and I waited for her to come in 10 yards, and she was broadside. I drew the bow when her head cleared the trees. When her head went behind a tree, I drew. And when she stepped into the main shooting lane, she just started to turn towards me. But I was aiming for her vitals, and with a little luck, looks like I slipped it in right in front of the front shoulder. I'm shooting 36-pound bow. This is the arrow. I only got about 6 or 7, 8 inches of penetration right through here. But that hit all the important stuff, the lungs, the heart, the arteries, all that important stuff. And I was able to follow a steady blood trail of dark blood for about 50, I'd say actually she made it, she ran 50 yards. I'm about 60 yards from my tree stand. Wow, what an accomplishment. It feels really, really good to get this done with a recurve again. It's probably been almost 5 years since I got a deer with a recurve. So, boy, does it feel good. I'm gonna get a tag on her. I'm gonna get her field dress, and we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna take her to the processor. So there's a lot of meat on this one, and it'll come out great. Hope you enjoyed the hunt with me. I sure as heck enjoyed bringing it to you. Glad I was able to show you what a recurve bow can do. I mean, this is a low poundage bow, but I shoot it because I shoot this bow more accurately than any other bow that I've ever shot in my life. This is the third deer I've taken with it, so it's very deadly in the hands of a skilled shooter.